Blacks helped found Los Angeles, and they made contributions to the city during the 19th century. Biddy Mason, a midwife and former slave, arrived in 1851. She helped establish the city's first black church and eventually acquired a sizable fortune in real estate. In 1923, an impoverished West Texas sharecropper's son arrived in Los Angeles. 50 years later, that sharecropper's son was elected mayor, Tom Bradley.
I remember looking up at the imposing building called City Hall. I remember the joy of going shopping with my mother every week when she went to the Grand Central Market. The sight of all of those fruits, vegetables, and the meats, something that sticks in your mind forever. The major black community was Central Avenue, and it literally was confined to an area about 3 blocks to the east of Central and about 3 blocks to the west of Central. You couldn't buy or rent or live outside of that very limited area. But we've come a long, long way, and those things that we now enjoy came as a result of the struggle of our parents and our forebears.
One of the most fascinating little-known layers of LA's past occurred during the 30s and 40s, when the promise of Southern California's sun and open society brought Los Angeles a remarkable generation of emigres from Europe, including 2 of the greatest composers of the 20th century. One was Igor Stravinsky, who lived in West Hollywood for almost 30 years. The other was 12-tone pioneer Arnold Schoenberg, a refugee from Nazism who arrived in 1934. Other emigre artists included modern Germany's most revered writer, Thomas Mann, who settled in the Pacific Palisades in 1941. And English transplant Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World, who mocked and admired Southern California for 25 years. In the 1920s, it was love at first sight for Austrian architect Richard Neutra. Inspired by Southern California, his architecture expresses an open, unconventional way of life. Like millions of newcomers before him, Neutra's earliest LA impressions came from a sales pitch. His wife, Diona, remembers.
While he was in Zurich, he saw a huge sign saying, "California calls you." And he said, "One day I'm going to get there." And he felt that this was a loose society, where it was much easier to build something different than, for instance, on the East Coast. And I think he really loved Los Angeles.
A place of your own is at the heart of the American dream, and it's no surprise that many of the world's most beautiful homes are found in Southern California. And it's a common impression that in Los Angeles, most of them belong to movie stars. To much of the world, Los Angeles is Hollywood. LA made movies, but in many ways the movies made LA. Starting around 1912, movie makers used Los Angeles as an enormous back lot. D.W. Griffith reenacted the Civil War in the San Fernando Valley. Charlie Chaplin tried out his tramp character during a real LA auto race. Some Angelinos complained, but filmmakers ignored them. After all, by the 1930s, making movies was the city's biggest business. Upon first impression, Los Angeles seemed to be infused with make-believe. It was nothing more than an unbridled expression of American imagination and high spirits. Youthful LA confounded traditionalists, but often what appeared alien was simply the American dream in action. Like America, Los Angeles was restless, on the move and eager to push aside the past. A lost layer of on-the-move LA, and another reminder of the influence of technology on the shape of emerging Los Angeles. During the first decades of the 20th century, the city supported the largest interurban train system in the world. The largest. It was the era of the big red cars. Trains encouraged Los Angeles to sprawl, laying the foundations for the world's first decentralized city. Redondo Beach, 1940. LA was already on the go in new directions. Even as this train ran through the undeveloped land between downtown and the beach, the days of the red cars were numbered. This was a final red car run in 1961. By then, LA rail lines had been retraced by symbols of another America on the move, freeways. The first came in 1940, the Arroyo Seco, connecting Pasadena with downtown. The freedom of movement made possible by the train gave way to the individual mobility of the automobile. The American dream had been refined, and another layer of LA vanished with hardly a trace. By the 1960s, Los Angeles, only a century before an insignificant cowtown, was now America's third largest city. A new music center symbolized the future and a cultural renaissance. But as before, it was a future purchased at the expense of LA's past. This time, the remains of a 19th century community called Bunker Hill. Old Bunker Hill is gone, but its memory is preserved in the work of artist Leo Politi. For more than 50 years, Los Angeles has inspired Politi's art. He lived on Bunker Hill when City Hall was LA's only skyscraper.
I saw these beautiful mansions that are being torn down. This was later when I started working, and I says, I just got to start drawing them and recording them, you see what I mean? The places were not fixed anymore. They were left to decay because there was already forces that wanted the land, you see, and they doomed them. And finally they condemned all the hill. I loved Los Angeles up till the Bunker Hill days. The way it is now, I don't understand it anymore. Maybe because I'm living too much in the past.
No one's ever accused Los Angeles of living too much in the past. In a way, it's a source of the city's strength and a major weakness. But ignoring history doesn't erase it. LA's past may be hard to find, but it's there. Until the 1930s, this deserted downtown building was a popular meeting hall for LA's Italian community. Today, it's a storeroom for decades of LA memorabilia. All of it, like the history of Los Angeles, waiting to be rediscovered. It's the story of a city and a microcosm of the American dream. A monument to technology. A saga of a struggle to shape America's future. And a celebration of ethnic diversity. The story of Los Angeles is a history of America in search of itself. The final impressions of historian and social critic Carrie McWilliams say it best.
What America is, California is in accents and italics. In all the world, there never was, nor would there ever be another place like this city of the angels. This strip of coast, this tiny region, seems to be looking westward across the Pacific, waiting for the future that one can somehow sense and feel and see.